I'm going to react to this Professor Sky video. Is Not Like Us the most important rap song of all time? And it's an analysis over the Grammy song. So let's see what Sky has to say. He's usually pretty in depth with his analysis. So I'm very curious to see what he says here.
There are times when you hear a song and you just know like something is different. Like the world is different than it was before you heard that song. One of my favorite examples is my ex-father-in-law talking about driving through New York City. I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles came on the radio. He pulled over the car and started crying and was just like, this is it. This is the moment. Or I remember being in the back seat of my friend Ben's car. We picked up OK Computer by Radiohead the day it came out at midnight, and we heard this first song, Airbag, and we were all just like, well, that's that. Like we understood this was a major moment, a major cultural shift happening in just one song. The most recent example is Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. I told this story in my video, but it bears repeating, okay? So I'm a very busy man. I at that point, I had a 1.5-year-old. My wife was very pregnant at the point. And I was listening to, I was just listening to music, and then I get all these notifications that there's a new Kendrick song. So at that point, my 2-year-old, my 1.5-year-old was probably playing with blocks or something. I don't know what, stuffed animals maybe. And I need to go change a diaper. So I have to go upstairs and I see the song's on. And so I put on my headphones and I start listening to it. And I'm like, oh, all right, well, this is, okay, all right, this is pretty catchy. Like all these things are going through my head. Like, what does it mean that this is such a catchy song? What does it mean that this is not Meet the Grams, which was the last thing I heard? Like what does that mean? And I remember very specifically opening up the child gate to go up the stairs, holding on to my 1.5-year-old kid and hearing the words, try to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor. And I laughed so hard. I wasn't that close to dropping my 1.5-year-old, but I was closer than I should have been. And in that laugh, I was confused. That was the moment of understanding, like something is happening. Something really, 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 really big is happening in this one moment in A minor. And I'm laughing about something so terrible, and I'm dancing to something so terrible, and it's so infectious, and it's so impossible. And 274 days later, I'm watching clips of the Grammys. Okay, I got a busy life. I can't watch all that. But I'm watching clips of the Grammys, and I watch the moment where it wins Song of the Year, where it beats out Billie Eilish, where it beats out Taylor Swift, every other of the titans of the Grammys. The entire Peacock Theater, which is located inside of Crypto is a Scam Perpetrated by the Rich.com arena. They just changed its name, by the way. It's Crypto is a Scam Perpetrated by the Rich.com arena. You should check it out. It's a great place. Inside that theater of 13,000 people, which, by the way, is the number of voters who voted, okay? 13,000 voters, 13,000 people inside the Peacock Theater. The entire place is filled. And as Kendrick Lamar walks up to the stage, all 13,000 people in unison sing A minor. They were there with me on the stairs. Next week is going to be the Super Bowl. It's going to be held in the Superdome. Any dome is your home if you can afford it. It's going to be in the Superdome. Max capacity, 76,468 people. 123 million people at least are going to be watching it on TV in America. 62 more million internationally. Every single one of those almost 200 million people and 77,000 people in person are all going to be with me on those stairs singing A minor. What does it all mean? I love watching commentary about Kendrick, much like you do. That's why you're watching this. Rob Markman and Wayno both declared this the best diss song in history. I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to say it's in the running for the most important rap song of all time. Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show, hosted by a French professor who is not of hip-hop culture.
Very strong statement that I'm very curious to see where he's heading here, because yeah, let's just see where he's going.
Culture is created by and for Black Americans, and I'm American, but obviously I'm not Black. So my expertise is not coming from the culture, it's coming as an academic, okay? I just got done teaching my class on hip-hop culture and rap music, okay? I do study the art form with a lot of intensity, with a lot of care, with a lot of love, but I acknowledge that there are things that I cannot understand about this art which I describe. Okay. That being said, why am I making this claim that it's the most important rap song of all time? Why break it down to 4 factors, which you can see printed very, very small up there? Number 1, artistic value. And this song has unquestioned artistic value, not only in how simple and how effective it is as a catchy song, how well made it is, but it also contains perhaps the verse of the year, a historical verse that is like unheard of. And cultural impact, I'm going to get more of that later.
I would pose the question, why would we consider this a verse that is unheard of? Is it specifically because he calls Drake out for being a pedophile? Because if we're going to argue about verses that are really great, there are plenty of great verses that dropped in the last year that I think could rival and probably be considered better than this. So if we're going to say of all time, I'm going to need a little bit more context in that.
That's, I think, its most important aspect, but its cultural impact in terms of its impact on hip-hop culture.
I can agree with that.
Unquestioned. Commercial ubiquity. That's the third factor I'm thinking of when I'm factoring in what makes the most important rap song of all time. I think it has to be big. It can't just be great. It has to be big.
Does it have to be commercially viable to be big? Would be a question that I would pose. But
and this is obviously, of all the accolades I could have picked, the fastest rap song to 700 million streams. Who cares, right? But just, it's been on the chart since it came out. It was number one. It continues to be number one. It continues to be top 10 at least.
Especially when we're talking about within the culture that is hip hop music. Are we specifically talking about the industry that exists with rap music, or are we talking about the culture of hip hop that exists within the music industry? I feel like those are nuanced different things.
And then it's the fourth one that was made clear yesterday: institutional acceptance. Now, this is very tricky because when I'm talking about institutional acceptance, I'm mostly talking about the acceptance of the white superstructure that exists in this country. Okay, so it's a complicated idea, but
that's an extremely complicated idea, that because a system that is essentially built upon white supremacy, because white supremacy accepts something, then it contributes to it being one of the greatest things of all time. That's an interesting concept. I mean, I understand, but that is complicated.
Does matter. I think it does matter when we're talking about how important a song is, how much of an impact it has on the world. Institutional acceptance is a part of that. I think it does matter when we're talking about how important a song is, how much...
I'm curious to see his further explanation or his talking point on this.
Of an impact it has on the world. Institutional acceptance is a part of that. Leading up to the Grammys, I watched many great, I think Rap Latte had a video about it. I think a whole bunch of people had videos about we, meaning Black Americans, hip hop Americans, don't care about the Grammys because Grammys don't care about us. Okay, not me, us, but
I think it's even bigger than that. I think it's just, I would argue that the Grammys don't really care about artistic integrity unless it's within the scope of being able to be captured by the Grammys. There's lots of great art that cannot be represented at the Grammys as well, right? And I think that even goes beyond the obvious piece there that is definitely hip hop and the culture around it, but also the Grammys don't. It's an interesting conversation to where, can you really say that anything that is focused on commercial viability can really care about artistic integrity? That's a whole nother conversation.
But them us.
And I say that because the most important thing is the bottom line.
Right? And it makes sense because rap, the Grammys suck. Who cares about the Grammys? The Grammys are pointless. They're just going to give it to Post Malone. Shouts
to 𝗕𝗥𝗚𝗡𝗚, who said that it's just kind of like a big music industry self-flating thing,
And Taylor Swift. And if Post Malone doesn't release an album, they'll just give him the Grammy anyway, But somehow it went 5 for 5. How many stocks does he have in stock? 5 plus 5. Was it 5 songs and then 5 Grammys? I don't know what. Somehow he swept the categories. This week was evidence of complete and total institutional acceptance. And then next week, it is taken to a different level of institutional acceptance. This has never been done by any artist ever. U2 played the Super Bowl, in 2001? It's not like they had a #1 hit that then won a Grammy and then they performed that song at the Super Bowl. No song ever has had this kind of run. No song ever has had this kind of run in American pop music history. No song. You find me the song. You tell me in the comments, and I will say, like you kids like to say, cap. Now, to be important, though, it's not all the stuff. It's not enough, okay?
I feel like I would have to actually legitimately do some research on, because things have changed through time. There's a reason why, like, was the Super Bowl as big of a deal in the 80s when Michael Jackson was on his run? Like, can you make arguments to some of those Michael Jackson records of being larger than life and larger than Not Like Us? I feel like the metrics are so different that it would have to take a very conscious effort to sit down and look at it. But all things considered, with what Professor Sky here is saying, like, this is definitely, I generally agree, but I definitely would want to look deeper into that.
Okay? Artistic value, it's not enough. Cultural impact, it's not enough. Commercial ubiquity, it's not enough. Institutional acceptance, it's not enough. It has to do all those things, plus it has to do something. It has to do something in terms of shifting either hip-hop culture or mainstream culture, or something especially in the interaction between hip-hop culture and mainstream culture.
Okay.
So I'm going to do my little job as a rap scholar, if I can be so bold to call myself that, despite the fact I got my doctorate in 17th century French literature, to talk about some songs through history that might stake the claim. You know, like let's put this in battle with the other songs that match this criteria, which I have created out the top of my head, and you might have different criteria.
Okay, cool.
And you might say, F this guy, he's not even wearing a tie, let's get rid of him. Okay, that's fine. Well,
he wears better clothes than I do when I go and teach my collegiate courses. So I rock a hoodie and some sweatpants. So, you know, to go teach my music production classes.
all good, we're all good. But if you're with me, let's roll. Okay? Obviously, you have to start with the beginning. I don't own a Sugar Hill Gang CD, but that is the first track on here, Rapper's Delight by Sugar Hill Gang. That has to be on there. It fulfills all four categories quite nicely. You know, before Sugar Hill Gang was released, like, nobody wanted to make rap songs.
So he's talking specifically about hip-hop rap music.
Okay? Sylvia Robinson
Well, he's saying everything, but maybe he's only referencing rap music, though.
of Sugar Hill Records
Oh, yeah, because that's the original thesis here. It's Not Like Us, the most important rap song of all time. Okay.
tried to get the real rappers, tried to get Love Bug to record a rap verse, tried to record a rap song. And everyone's like, what the hell are you talking about? You can't make money. No. We only make money playing parties. So she used her brains and her...
I think it's also really hard to compare something in its like 50th plus year to something that was, you could even make the claim that like when this dropped, Rapper's Delight, it wasn't even into, like, this was almost the song that really kind of, it's like the argument of like T-Pain and auto-tune. This is the best metaphor I can use. T-Pain was the one that pioneered how everybody used auto-tune. Kanye West was the one that took what he did a step further and made it okay for people to do. It's just really hard to do a comparison from one of the important culturally related hip hop songs before there was an industry for it to be commercially viable. Anyways.
Connections to New Jersey to create the first rap song. It'll be hard to dethrone that. And one important thing here, I talk about songs, not albums or artists. Kanye West does not feature on this list. Jay-Z, Tupac, Nas, some of the most consequential artists that you might say in terms of albums and in terms of their very presence. Jesus, I gotta stop saying very. I sound so obnoxious when I call something their very presence. I sound like the goddamn timekeeper. By their presence, by their albums. So they're not on there. Sugar Hill Gang is the first people to think to make a rap song. Then, of course, we have to go 3 years later to the second big commercial hit for rap music, The Message, which was made by, if you read this very carefully, it says Duke Booty and Grandmaster Melly Mel. Okay? That's who it should say whenever you're reading about The Message, because Grandmaster Flash had nothing. I wrote The Message as much as Grandmaster Flash wrote The Message, okay? You wrote it as much as Grandmaster Flash wrote it, okay?
Yeah, but like at the same time, culturally at this time too, the DJ was it was all about the DJ, you know. We're coming from an era where the DJ is the most important piece of hip hop.
But obviously The Message itself, 1982, was a concrete example that rap could exist. It wasn't just a one-hit song, just, you know, a funny thing that some kids in the Bronx do and we'll just kind of laugh at it. It wasn't just that, okay? It was evidence that there was real intention. It was the first political rap song, to make a difference. It did so much sonically. It did everything. it was everywhere. It had that commercial ubiquity. It was accepted by the institutions. It was artistic, and it was cultural, right?
Okay.
And then we get to what I call the FTP pairs. Okay, 1989 we have "Fuck the Police" by NWA, which showed the form of rebellion that was easily co-opted. It's very complex. Straight Outta Compton's a very complex album to study. But "Fuck the Police" is a great example of one of the most powerful songs in the history of rap music in terms of all those things, by a group which would somehow end up ushering in the co-opting of the culture itself. It's very complex. But then within a year, we have "Fight the Power" off of "Do the Right Thing." "Fight the Power" is sort of, this is more in hindsight that these two, I think you could put them together as these two very important songs with great cultural import, with great artistic value and ubiquity and importance. And Public Enemy really showed like what's going to happen to rap music, like what can rap music do.
Yeah.
I think the next song I'm going to include might be a little bit scandalous.
And I would say NWA too. They both did.
Because I'm not including Nas, but I am including MC Hammer. Okay? Please, Hammer, don't hurt him. All right? "Can't Touch This" by MC Hammer.
Because it's commercial viability. I mean,
the way, you know, my colleague Curtis King has this whole thing, justice for Ja Rule. Can we have justice for Hammer? He produced the whole goddamn album.
we've talked about this specific conversation on the New Old Heads in the past about how Hammer gets a bad rap.
He's not just like some guy like set up by some suit somewhere to be a hit maker. He's like the real deal. It's not his fault he was popular and he knows how to dance. Anyways,
Facts.
"Can't Touch This." That showed the absolute commercial potential of.
The more I think about this in the back of the mind as I'm listening here, the more I'm really leaning towards just completely rejecting the idea of commercial ubiquity. Respectfully. But because it's well, I don't know if commercial ubiquity, but also the institutional acceptance aspect. I just have a really hard time. With that idea and that concept because of, again, it goes to a conversation we had on the New Old Heads a while ago about the difference between the rap music industry versus hip hop culture that we talked about. That was a concept that was brought up by 𝗕𝗥𝗓𝗓 and 𝗕𝗥𝗓𝗪. Yeah.
Rap music in a way that no other song could. Of course, we would have within a couple of months, Ice Ice Baby would be released, which would show something different as well. But we had all these fascinating moments that just seismic shift, total institutional acceptance. We're talking commercials on TV, appearing in movies, all over the place, everywhere, completely mainstream in rap if it hadn't already been. I would also throw on "Juicy" by B.I.G. in 1994. I lost my copy of Ready to Die, so I'm going to go to Record Archive and buy another one sometime soon. I think that showed a lot of the crossover possibility. It brought in a level of lyricism and also the idea that rap music could be made with more of a female audience in mind in a way that I know. I could have included "I Need Love" by LL Cool J on.
But this is a lot of arguments could be made here that this was also the beginning of the end, because this is when, or not the beginning of the end, but this is when hip hop culture lost a little bit of itself due to the hyper focus on sales, and that this album was a part of that. I don't know. It's another conversation.
Here, but I think this had a bigger long-term impact than "I Need Love." So anyways, we'll let them share that. Okay, I'd say "My Name Is" by Eminem. I don't own Eminem's first album. Sorry, still don't own it.
Is that the Slim Shady LP? Is that the first one? But I would say definitely.
Showed, had that same level of impact and importance, especially in terms of the existence of white rappers. And then I would say there'd be a 20-year break until the next song that had that kind of seismic shift impact.
Interesting. I'll have to think about that.
I'm not saying there weren't albums. I thought about putting, maybe "Jesus Walks" on here.
808s and Heartbreaks, potentially, but which is not even one of my particularly favorite ones, but that was definitely a major culture shift, especially in the music aspect of it and what it spawned and created. But I don't know if I can necessarily pick one song off of that.
Or maybe, "A Milli" by Lil Wayne, like songs that really pushed the culture, really pushed the art form in a different direction, but it didn't hit on all four cylinders, like I'm talking about up here.
Yeah, that's why I think, like, for his particular thing that, thesis, if you will, a thing that he's like putting together, I understand that. But again, I think I would look at this differently, because Yeah, I don't know.
And in terms of artistic, cultural, commercial, and institutional. So I'd say Old Town Road is the next song. 2019 by Lil Nas X. It showed this great shift. It reflected this shift.
What was
it
the
reflected
shift?
The internetization of hip-hop culture and rap in a way that had been happening over a long period of time. Complete institutional embracing. It sold super well. I suppose its thinnest connection is its cultural impact and its cultural relevance.
Yeah, I think there's very little cultural relevance there.
But that is.
And very actually low artistic value as well. To me, that's just a commercial record that did well. I mean, sure, it was a black artist stepping into the country space, and that in itself, we can have discussions on. We've had discussions on this on the New Old Heads in the past, but yeah,
beyond not me.
Like Soulja Boy Tell 'Em's joint, Crank That, I think is one that definitely could be added in the 2000, what was that, 5, 6, 7 area. I think that is one that is big enough to potentially. Then again, I guess that I would miss on his probably institutional acceptance, at least early on. Yeah, because that was like a YouTube hit. But again, like it was different. It like defied the odds. You know, it did things that other records. It pioneered that. It pioneered that YouTube space essentially.
To discuss. So those are my entrants. Those are who I think are fighting Not Like Us as the most important rap song of all time. Okay.
Ah, man. Put an Old Town Road in there is like, bro, what are we talking about? Okay.
Realistically, I don't know how you're going to unseat Rapper's Delight and The Message. I don't know if it's possible to have a single song that does as much. But let's think about what Not Like Us has actually done. You know, I don't like how small this is up here. Okay, let's think about what it's done in terms of these 4 things. Okay? In particular,
yeah, I think it's kind of undeniable based upon what he's speaking on here. I think definitely Not Like Us checks all those off. And it checks off all of these particular things more so than any of the other songs that he has referenced. I would definitely say My Name has had a big impact on all of these things because it was also Dr. Dre's co-sign of Eminem and what that meant for white rappers and white rapper fans, or just white fans in rap. Let's just continue.
Cultural relevance. Depending on how this year goes, depending how next year goes, it's possible that we will say that Not Like Us literally saved rap culture. I'm not saying hip-hop culture. I'm saying rap culture. Is it a coincidence? Is it a funny thing that Kendrick got up there and gave his second speech and said the following: at the end of the day, nothing is more powerful than rap music. I don't care what it is. He is up there stunting on Billie Eilish, on Taylor Swift, on the entire Grammy Academy that has just been looking over and ignoring hip hop as much as feasible for as long as possible. And he's getting up there and saying, this art form that I do is better than all of you. Nothing is more powerful. Not country, not rock, not indie, not instrumental contemporary. Sorry, instrumental contemporary. You're working hard out there. I support you.
We're trying out here.
I don't care what it is. He got up there and he didn't diss Drake. He dissed all other art forms that are not rap music. And
I don't know if that's a diss. I think that's just trying to put your foot in the sand.
And then he follows up. We are the culture. It's going to stay here and live forever. Obviously, he's talking about things to which I can only understand but not participate. He is saying directly a pro-black statement. We are the culture. It's going to always stay here and live forever. As Punch would tell young artists, he gives this advice to young artists: respect the art form. It will get you where you need to go.
Right.
In this speech, he's making it clear that this little catchy thing, this catchy diss song against Drake, is not just some goofy-ass song where he's trying to take out Drake. It is about the power of rap music, and somehow he knew it. I knew it when I was walking up the goddamn stairs and almost dropped my baby hearing A minor. I understood it. We all understood it. All of us understood it. That's what the song was going to do. And it did it. I might be speaking grandiose. We'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, I think it's a little grandiose, but I mean, it's a great record. It's a great song. It's a really good popular song. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Not Like Us is all right, but Okay.
the year after. But there's a real chance that he is putting Black Americans back in the center of commercial rap music. Obviously, they've always been at the center of creation, always been the center of the culture, but with a Canadian, with sort of decidedly, with a lot of abstraction from Black American culture and perhaps a lack of appreciation or respect towards it, that is being taken away.
I think it's, but the thing, I mean, I get that, and I don't want to veer too far away from the point that he's making here, but like, Drake is also an anomaly. I think it's more about Drake's character than it is necessarily Drake being Canadian, because there's lots of super talented, hip hop people that embrace hip hop culture that are Canadian. I think it's less about that. Maybe not from Kendrick's angle from what he's saying here, but like Drake is an anomaly in that aspect.
The speeches that he gave were the Heart Part 6, his Heart Part 6, but in a speech form. He wasn't taking this time to say Drake is bad and Drake likes kids and blah, blah, blah. Nah, nah, nah.
Yeah, it's bigger than Drake.
No, he's saying what matters. What matters is rap culture, the culture, Black people, and Compton, and all this regional space, right? Because that's one of the artistic things he was able to do, was rebirth regionalism in rap music, which has become so de-regionalized because most of the time it's been a Canadian hanging around with dudes from Atlanta. That's what's been mainstream rap for the past, like...
And I'm still not even sure that, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think there's something to be said about the regionalities and the regions mattering to some degree, because that's where the culture of different regions kind of come out. But I don't know, I think that's another conversation that we've talked about in the past too on the New Old Heads. Do regions, doesn't matter. The fact that music, generally speaking, is kind of regionless from what Sky is saying here. I think I would probably generally lean towards yes.
3,000 years. How many thousands of years has it just been Atlanta and Canada? This song, what does it do? It does all those things, and it is the Drakeotomy. And it's not what Drake is. It's not who he is. It's what he represents. It is the Drakeotomy, the removing of Drake. It's funny because, he wore an all denim suit, and a lot of people are commenting, shout out to Jeremy Hecht, Winnipeg's finest, who mentioned that a full denim suit is called a Canadian tuxedo. And
right.
So maybe he's dissing him. One level deeper, though, you come to me for the good commentary. It's also an homage to one of LA's biggest superstar, Jay Leno, who only dresses in denim. So I think Kendrick Lamar is not taking a shot at Drake. I think he's just saying how much he appreciates Jay Leno.
Yeah, I don't believe that, but it's fair.
When we think about the institutional acceptance of this song, did you see it? You have to watch it. He stands up and they play the song. They could have picked any point of the song to play.
Yeah, they specifically timed the record from when he got up to where when he got on stage to accept the Grammy, that and the camera shot at the same time was the A minor part.
But they play the beginning. And of course they have to bleep out dot fuck 'em up. They have to bleep out fuck 'em up. Do you know what they didn't bleep out? Certified lover boy, certified pedophile.
Facts.
They kept in the word that I just said that's going to get me demonetized. Smash like bucket, subscribe, AVA stands for awesome videos always. I always heard a comment that says that. Join my Patreon, all that stuff, okay? That's what wasn't censored. That's how complete the Drakeotomy is. And next week, with those millions of people, those hundreds of millions of people watching and singing along, it had to be this fierce. Everyone's calling it a victory lap. How many victory laps is this man going to have? How many? The video, the pop out, the Grammys, the album, the.
I think it takes this to completely wipe somebody that has been not necessarily dominating the industry for as long as he has, but it takes something like repeatedly driving the point home to really kind of just squeegee the entire thing from Drake. And I think that's what Kendrick's doing. Not Like Us talk it has dominated everything for 6-7 months, and it's a bit tired at this point. Because there's so many other things that are going on within hip hop and music that are worth talking about. And I really do feel like media in general is taking it a little bit too far, in the sense of not taking it too far. I just wish we dropped a video and some commentary about like what we would look for in 2025 in hip hop. And one of the things that I mentioned was like, I really would like the resurgence of like what the blog era was kind of like, where the hip hop commentators are replacing the hip hop blogs, and we talk more about like the music that's not just what's going to monetize a video, you know. And you know, I've been talking about how YouTube could do a better job with, like, it'd be cool to be able to do a video to listen to a song, and for us to be able to split money on the song with the artist that we're listening to directly, rather than be demonetized for doing so. And I feel like the platform decentralizes that. I want to see more content or people in this space talking about the real, and really diving deep and putting spotlight to a lot of the up and coming and the continual growth of the genre outside of just the stuff that is going to get us clicks. You know what I mean?
The Super Bowl announcement, the Super Bowl. I'm missing a few. I'm missing like how many victory laps is he going to do? But he needs to, because Drake, and what Drake represents, not so much him, but what he represents, is a fierce monster, is a multi-headed hydra that needs to have all 10 of its necks stepped upon and snapped under a size 7 shoe, okay? You just need to keep stepping on him. Step, snap. And that's what he has to keep doing. And that's what we see.
Does Kendrick really have a size 7 shoe?
When we're in the middle of the most industry space, and the most industry rapper that has ever industried is sitting there, and all 13,000 people are singing.
And I know it was on the cover of one of the diss track records. I just didn't, thinking about it now, I'm like, wow, that's pretty small.
In chorus. In case you're going to say here, oh, Sky, you're just a glazer. I glaze art, not the person. Kendrick Lamar is wonderful, but I'm talking about art and culture and humanity. Right. That's what this is a victory for. And also, Dave Free won for the video. The video was great. How amazing is it that an actually great music video that was made, that was so loose and funny and interesting and dynamic, won? I mean, what a great triumph for art. Shout out to 𝗕𝗥𝗚𝗓𝗡𝗚. Go watch her videos if you don't watch her stuff. But don't act a fool and go in there and say, I sent you, because that really bugs her. But you should go see her stuff. She does great stuff. She was just talking about Dave Free and the fact that, you know, Dave Free was directly mentioned by Drake in his disses, and that was his big trump card. That was his red button, was trying to break apart this friendship. But again, it's the Heart Part 6 over and over again. Kendrick took the chance for the Heart Part 6 where he could have dissed Drake as hard as possible, and instead he just gave a shout out to Ab-Soul and Schoolboy Q and J-Rock and Dave Free and all the people that make the culture.
Yeah.
At this point, we have to wonder if Drake is Kendrick's hype man. Is he just the hype man? Because
has he become that at this point?
The lawsuit added a whole different angle to the Not Like Us thing that I was not ready for. It's now making this song, which is the #1 song of the year and wins all the Grammys, an underdog, because we're wondering, are they going to play it? Are they going to play it? Is it going to win? Is it going to manage to win, despite the fact that everybody's worried that acknowledging it might get you sued by Drake's legal team? He's building up suspense. He is putting as much of a hyper focus on this one song as you can possibly do. You can either sue or you can win. So that's all the song did. Would 𝗕𝗥𝗓𝗓 have won without Not Like Us? I'm goddamn serious. I am serious.
For sure. That's a very good point. Yeah.
Would Rhapsody have finally won a Grammy? Rhapsody and 𝗕𝗥𝗓𝗓 win a Grammy. Completely merited, but how many great artists don't get what they deserve?
I have to go back and look at this a little deep to see if it was really merited, but in the sense that the Grammys historically do a very good job of fixing previous mistakes, if you will. Because it was the Rhapsody one with a record with Erykah Badu. I'm going to have to go look into that a little bit further. 𝗕𝗥𝗓𝗓 stuff was great. It was a mixtape, and I think she's got a lot of push behind her right now. But that is a very, very interesting take. You know, does it go to somebody who's a little bit more commercially viable? Because she only sold 11,000 in her first 11,000 records, 𝗕𝗥𝗓𝗓. So I mean, Yeah, I don't know. But I think you could even go back to last year too. You know, you can make even a broader statement that the Grammys were already on this path of kind of correction in a way, because Killer Mike won and pretty much swept last year. And that is, you know, over Travis Scott. And, you know, I don't know. It's a conversation.
This is, time will tell, okay? Maybe 2 years, this video will be stupid. Maybe 2 years, Drake will have like 5 #1 hits and we'll just be back to where we were. Just Drake and Thug releasing a song called, I don't know, Rico Gang, and it's super popular and everyone loves it. And we're just back to the party again. The party didn't die, it was just waiting till Kendrick got bored. I don't know what. But to me, what I see is a change. I see a shift. And the fact that 𝗕𝗥𝗓𝗓 won is a great sign of that. Side note.
I think it puts a little bit too much, well, I see where he's going there, but I still think it puts a little bit too much credence on the music industry aspect of everything.
Come on, y'all. She should have won too. I love Not Like Us, but Nissan Altima was the best rap performance last year. You can come at me, but have you heard that song? Have you listened to that rapping? Again.
It's great, but no.
I teach a class on rap music and hip-hop culture, so I don't make it, so I'm no expert. I don't know, but Jesus Christ, that is a great performance, still. I love that Mustard's here. I love the regionalism. It is a political rap song that hit #1. And once again, Post Malone didn't win a fucking thing. That piece of shit Vulture, that little fake-ass, every single one of his face tattoos is fake, by the way. He wakes up and pays someone $3 million a year to apply them because they're fake. And his gold teeth are made out of chiclets, okay? He's an absolute fake and a fraud and a culture vulture, and he, by all rights, should have won. By all rights, he should have won. Taylor Swift and Post Malone, that's the bullshit that we've been buying. And some, but I love Taylor Swift, by the way. Taylor Swift is great. She deserves all the success she has. But putting on Taylor Malone like that, Post Malone, that's unforgivable. That's unforgivable. Everything about Post Malone is unforgivable, and he lost. Is he going to come back? Is Drake going to come back?
I made a video reacting to a YouTube creator called Read My Soul, who compared Mac Miller and Post Malone. And I'm going to say the same thing that I said in that video. Post Malone is a symptom of a larger problem, which is white supremacy and capitalism within music, the music industry, and white faces. I think it's valid to go at Post Malone a lot of times, but I think we miss a lot of nuance around the indoctrination of white people when we center Post Malone in that argument.
Or is 𝗕𝗥𝗓𝗓 going to win next year? Or is GNX going to win? Or is Kendrick's other album...
Was Tyler's not up? Was he nominated?
...that's coming out this year going...
I don't like the Grammys, as you know, so I'm catching the Cliff Notes now, but I like Tyler's the most last year.
...to win. Mark it. It's happening. I'm positive. I'm positive now. I wasn't positive later. I'm positive now. We'll have to see. We'll have to see next week. Shout out again to Rob Markman, who puts forth the idea that he's going to create a different verse for Not Like Us, which is just perfect. That's what I think he should do. But what do you think of my theory? If we are using this as a criteria for songs, what song has more artistic value, cultural relevance, commercial ubiquity, and institutional acceptance while doing something profound?
I think this is an interesting thing. I'm gonna mention this to the guys on the New Old Heads to see if this is something that we want to do a deeper dive on, because I feel like I can't answer that sitting here having a conversation at a camera, but I have problems with it. So,
in both hip hop culture and popular culture at large, you tell me in the comments what songs do more. What song is more deserving of most important rap song of all time?
Great video. It's a very great and very thought-provoking video by Sky, as usual. He's got a lot of really good content out there, and he also does do a lot of deep dives on, I mentioned the piece earlier about, covering people that just aren't like super in the middle of just it's going to do well for the algorithm, but he does record reviews. He does a lot of stuff that you should check out on his YouTube channel. So definitely check out Professor Sky. He is also a part of he joins the cultural, what's it called? Culture United podcast with Justin Hunt, company man. So you might catch him on there, but I appreciate Sky's deep dives. And so, even though I'm critical of stuff, it's not a personal thing, like definitely a fan of the care that he does and the stuff that he does. So yeah, great video. Till next time.